We are Blenderstyle, and remember that freedom is not hard to find. Today we're talking about Black Sabbath's Sabotage, released in 1975.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Never mind that weird thumbs.
Thumbs up.
So it's Black Sabbath, right? Everyone knows Black Sabbath, Ozzy, Tony Iommi. I mean, everybody in this band, right?
Why this album?
I don't want to say that just yet.
Okay.
But I want to say that I think it's
It's a weird one.
after this, I think they came out with 2 records, maybe, with
With
Ozzy.
Ozzy, yeah.
And then I think it was done after that. And, like, the 2 albums after this obviously weren't as good as this one. But, okay, I guess I will tell you.
Go for it.
This is my favorite Black Sabbath album. I enjoy this album.
Is this your entry point into the band?
No.
Really?
Paranoid.
No.
Everyone else got into
I mean, Paranoid is, like, the one that everyone always talks about, right?
So you got into Black Sabbath, and this is the one that you like the most.
Yeah. And I got into it kind of later, right?
So let's talk about post Ozzy for a second.
Let's talk
Casey,
about post-traumatic Ozzy syndrome.
Dio
Casey,
was
you're
great.
a Ozzy fan.
I'm not an Ozzy fan.
You like Perry Mason,
I like one album
Osmosis.
as forced so by my brother, who thought by buying me the album would get him the album.
Right.
So he decided to buy me the Osmosis album for my birthday one year in the expectation that I would give him the album because I didn't like Ozzy.
We've talked about this before a little
So I forced myself to listen to it. I am not a Sabbath fan. This was the longest 44 minutes of my life.
Oh, my God.
bit. Why do you not like Sabbath? That's the lamest take
Because it
ever.
reminds them of the bands.
No, actually, you know what? It's not because it reminds me of the bands. It might be a little bit. It's because I feel like I don't understand the hype around Sabbath being the forefront of metal.
The founder of
Yeah.
metal.
Because there's nothing
Metal
about
starts at Black Sabbath.
and that's what people say, but I don't see that
Dude,
at all.
I don't know how you see it any other
there
way.
are little spritzits, little
Spritzits.
peppers
Little
of fucking thrash metal before there's thrash metal in this album.
And to me,
I agree.
There are parts in this that,
100%.
like I'm like, dude, this is almost thrashy, dude.
so I'm not versed in bands of the 1970s genre at all.
You love Steely Dan.
But that wasn't a rock band. That was a
Okay.
jazz infusion,
Jazz,
or
rock,
whatever.
yeah, whatever.
So, to me, I like my musical beginning started when I was a kid with Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, Dire
80s.
Straits. Yeah, like 70s stuff, Steely Dan, things like that. But they were more on the heavy side. So when people were like, "Oh, Black Sabbath is the forefront of modern metal" or whatever, I was like, maybe, but I feel like bands after that were doing a better job of portraying the metal scene than Sabbath ever did.
Because of your taste, I can understand why you would say that. But it certainly starts at
so
Black Sabbath.
you're telling me that Black Sabbath isn't metal.
No, they might be metal, but in my mind,
Right.
I came into metal after Black Sabbath, so like going back to it, I was like, well, yeah, but the stuff I was listening to at the time was heavier than Sabbath, and so to me, I was like, well, they weren't really heavy at all.
Okay, so
They had this kind of
let me
pop
rephrase
feel
it then.
more than anything.
you don't think Sabbath is heavy?
I don't, and I don't think Led Zeppelin's heavy.
Well, I think that's
I think
too
they're very
different.
similar in the styles.
Sabbath
Do you
over
think,
Sabbath over Zeppelin either.
Do you think Jimi Hendrix is heavy?
I don't. I think Jimi Hendrix is a great guitar player, but I don't think his
So
music
when does
is heavy.
heavy start? AC/DC, Back in Black, 1980?
No, it's
81,
before. It's
whatever.
before 80s. I mean, Dire Straits had some killer shit in the 70s.
You think Dire Straits is heavy and
I think
Black
it's heavier
Sabbath
than
is not?
Sabbath.
I think Hendrix definitely had some heavy stuff.
I think Hendrix had some heavy shit.
So heavy in the 60s means different than heavy in
Yeah,
the 80s.
and maybe that's it. And so that's my thing. It's like I feel like there's a heavy 70s rock vibe where it's rock, but I don't feel like metal really took the scene until like the late 70s, early 80s.
I get what you're saying. Like, I mean, honestly, we're like arguing over like if it's metal or not, and like who gives a shit.
No,
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
that. No, it
Like,
is
this
because
album-
you got "Symptom of the Universe" is a metal.
That is
fucking
the
song.
best cover of a Sepultura song ever.
You're lame, bro. I don't disagree. I think the Sepultura
Oh, it's
cover
so
is so
much
good
better.
from Blood Rooted. But I mean, come on. Tony Iommi invented so much.
You know what? Tony Iommi's guitar riffage, and tone on this is killer.
Oh, dude.
Tony Iommi's
He's a god, dude, a godfather of this shit.
Geezer's bass is good, but it doesn't get justice in this because of the mix. And Bill Ward's drumming.
Good use of word justice, by the way.
Yeah. And Bill Ward's drumming on this
Amazing.
he's drumming like a 70-year-old and he's in his 20s.
Bill Ward's the John Bonham of metal, in my opinion.
What is
But
that?
I
John
feel like-
Bonham
What
is
the fuck's that even
is
mean?
like one of the best drummers
But I feel like
of that rock time, and then
their drumming
Bill
style is
Ward's
exactly
that-
the same.
that's why
I
make
think
that
they're trying
comparison
all
'cause
kinds of
they're-
different.
it-
There's
it-
all kinds of different percussion sounds
Okay.
all over this, Casey.
So
this is pretty
this is my thing.
experimental.
I feel like this album has some decent takes in it. So I put on "Hole in the Sky." There's this pop beat thing going on, tone to it.
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun. It's very poppy.
Okay.
So
I call it just a good ass riff.
it's a great
good time.
riff.
It's just a good
But
time.
what I'm getting at is the drums and the bass ruin the riff for me. Because you're right, the riff is killer. The guitar and the bass ruin it.
It is
And
kind
they
of
turn it into a pop synth,
Oh
like
my
a pop
God.
song.
it's kind of fun though.
I disagree
It's
with
fun.
this.
It's totally fun. But it's not a metal song.
I know.
It's like Iron Maiden-ish metal.
Yeah.
It's gallopy.
Yeah, very gallopy.
Okay.
And then Symptom of the Universe, great cover of a Sepultura song.
So are we
Amazing.
are you rating this by whether it's metal, or are you rating this by
No,
just
I'm
the
just rating
goddamn
on-
content of the album?
On
you know?
the content of the album, I've never been a Black Sabbath fan, and I just
That's
can't
fine.
understand how people think that they're great. Because
Is that your beef with it?
My beef with it is I don't understand how people think it's good. Because I don't think it's great. It's decent. I'm not going to say it's bad, but it's not everything everybody makes it out to be.
So
Well, I would say that you're like literally, you're definitely in the minority, and that's completely
Nathan,
fine with me.
In my world, I'm in the majority.
In your world, that's fine. That's fine. What's funny is I would definitely say that this album is underrated, and I think that's kind of like what it kind of also I'm drawn to it. Like I also read that like the album was like rated like one of the worst albums in rock and roll. You know, covers the
that's
album
terrible.
art.
Oh, the cover.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
And
pretty bad.
pretty bad.
like whoever like made that list is an idiot, because I disagree with them wholeheartedly.
Do you think this album art's cool?
Oh, I think it's way rad.
Nathan,
I think it's
Nathan
way
likes
cool,
tight
dude,
pants
like-
and packages.
No, it's just goofy. It's funny. It's
It is.
weird.
He looks like a Christmas
But
elf.
at the same
and
time,
the
it
lyrics
was
are also just so good in this.
I love the lyrics.
how,
Casey,
like,
the lyrics.
the guitar riffs,
No.
like when when Iommi goes into some of these riffs, it's I don't know how they did it in the production, where it's just like there's space within the guitar, like the guitar
I
is just
agree with you
there,
100%.
just sounding so sick as fuck.
Yes.
And the drums can lay back and like get in that pocket of just, you know.
It's kind of jammy, dude.
Oh, for sure. I love that even like, you know, like outros are like into like Spanish guitar sounding things, you know. The first time I ever heard of Sabotage was because I had heard Sabbath, because, you know, obviously, like, as I heard Sabbath when I was a kid. But Sabotage was The Thrill of It All, Zero skateboard video.
okay.
And Jamie Thomas, like, you know, skated to, like, you know, Black Sabbath. And it was like a black and white skate video and stuff.
Word.
And I just remember just being like in fucking awe of it, you know what I mean? And like that's what I relate with this album: skateboarding, blunts, and like heavy ass fucking
You
music.
said it earlier that it was like experimental, and that doing this show and getting into this album, because I'm familiar with the first handful of albums.
Mhm.
I didn't really get into Sabotage. Black Sabbath is an experimental band. I didn't know that really.
Oh yeah, dude, they're pushing the limits. In my opinion, I think they definitely
So
are.
that to me, that's why they're so influential. Because you'll hear like there's like doom metal bands, and there's like, oh, they sound like Black Sabbath. Yeah, but they only sound like this part of Black
The
Sabbath.
two first albums.
The first album, especially, right?
Yeah.
But like this one has like the weird abrupt ending.
Yeah, people love Volume 4.
Yeah, I do too. But it's different than this one.
Mm-hmm.
They have like complex.
Masters of Reality.
They
right?
have like complex song arrangements. You know, long, trippy songs, instrumental interludes. Like, how many metal bands do that? They all do. You know what I mean?
Well, they do now, yeah, but not back then.
Not back then, and that's my point. Is like Black Sabbath's influence is amazing. To me, the highlight of this is absolutely how fucking weird it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Nathan, you said this before in a previous episode. If you know what episode this is, write in the comment. And if you get it right, we'll send you some merch. You said if you weird me out, you're doing something right.
Uh-huh.
And for me, this weirds me out, and I love it for that.
Mhm.
Megalomania is a masterpiece of a song. It fucking weirded me out where I had to keep listening to it. And dude, amazing.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I probably put it on maybe numerous monthly playlists. That song, it just kind of makes my playlist sometimes.
It would make me almost think that Matt's obsessed.
Did
But,
do you not like it? That weird.
It was cool. I like. Look, this is my thing. There's some, like the guitar work in this album is killer for me. The drumming is shit.
Oh man,
that's
Ozzy's
harsh.
vocals are too far forward in the mix for me. But I feel like that was a sign of the 70s. I mean, that was the thing. Vocals forward, everything else in the back. There's some really cool double kick that comes in this, and I didn't notice it until I put some headphones on because it's so drawn back in the mix. But at the same time, I feel like all those little interludes and stuff, because the album to me isn't very interesting to begin with, it just draws me away from it.
It's just like more noise.
It's just more noise to draw me even farther away from it. And so I had a really hard time with it. I understand that like this was recorded in the midst of a legal battle with their former manager. And so there's a lot of like uncertainty in the way this was recorded or where they wanted to go with it.
And I think
feel
it's
like
important.
there's a little bit of more anger that kind of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think it's important to know the context because this is also like their 6th album within 5 years.
Yeah.
So they're just putting out content.
Dude,
You can kind of feel it
insane.
falling
You can.
apart.
And I don't want to say that it's falling apart, but it's just, I mean,
I think that
based off previous albums, it's not up to the standards of a Sabbath album, maybe.
That's fair. I don't think that's not fair.
But I mean, I've just never really been a big Sabbath fan for that, and it's kind of the same reason I'm not a fan of any of the music from the early to late 70s is because of the recording style of that.
That's my only beef is the
Like,
production.
Yeah, the production back then, it was just like this, hey, the singer is the head of the band, so they need to be loudest in the mix. And it's like, no, I want the instruments to speak for the band.
You know what really?
I think the instruments speak pretty good in this, man.
You know what really did it to me is like in our group chat, you sent us what song is it? Thrill of It All.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, right on. So I listened to it, and then I was like, that reminds me of that AC/DC song,
Okay.
Shoot the Thrill.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I immediately put that on right after Thrill of It All. It was like getting dunked on. I was like, if AC/DC came out, that song came out 5 years later. Bro, the production is amazing
Yeah,
on
it's
that.
like tenfold.
Completely different, though.
So it kind of, that's like my beef with this is especially like, that's only 5 years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than that, I think this is really interesting and a rad album. And I think if I probably listened to this when I was getting into Black Sabbath and I was just like, whoa. But this is killer, bro.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Thank you.
Right.
Casey, so you're kind of not digging it. What's your rating?
I gave it a 2.8. It's not my thing. I'm not really into it.
It's not it's better than I thought you would do.
Yeah, I honestly was surprised, and honestly, the more I listened to it, the higher my rating got, and maybe this is something that grow on me, but I just feel like I'm still stuck in that. I mean, we talked about it a
You're a
couple
hater,
episodes
dude.
back of like once I see the name of a band, I base a lot of my stuff off of that, and so it's
Are you
like
sure it wasn't the Osbournes fucking TV show that fucked it up for
I
you?
never watched the Osbournes, but the fact that once I listened to it because Ozzy has that very distinguishable voice, you know, it's like I knew it was Ozzy, and I was like, well, it's in the '70s, so it's got to be Sabbath. And to me, that just kind of I have this preconceived notion that I just don't like Sabbath, and so that was really hard to get past for me. Um, it's it's a good album. I think there's shortcomings. That were later resolved with Ozzy's stuff. And I never got into Sabbath, so I can't say whether they resolved a lot of these issues with Sabbath. But yeah, for me, it's a 2.8. It's a decent album, but it's not something I would probably go back to.
I appreciate you recognizing that you have preconceived biases, and that's the first step to like overcoming.
It's the first step in the 12-step program.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
It's a 69-step program.
I give it a 4.5 out of 5. This is amazing, dude. It's a trippy album. Megalomania is a banger, like masterpiece in my opinion. It's so weird and different. Ozzy's bringing it on this. The lyrics are weird. I like that you can feel like the disconnect with all the band members, but it still works, and all the players are great. Yeah, I fucking love it. Good pick. I would probably not get into this if you didn't pick it, so that's a good one. Nathan, your pick?
I love the tension. I think Ozzy is killing it. I think everybody's kind of killing it on this. Man, you know, guys, this is a perfect record to me. This is a 5.0. This is my favorite Black Sabbath record.
Oh, shit.
But don't put it past me to rate another Black Sabbath record a 5.0. This is a great record. I enjoyed this record very much. This is the one I listen to most, all the way through.
Nice.
Do you think this is the best Black Sabbath album?
You'll have to subscribe to, figure that one out. But we are Blenderstyle. That was Black Sabbath Sabotage. And that goes to tell you, if any one of you guys brings a lawyer to this fucking place,
we're going to be disjointed as fuck.
It's fucking not happening.
We're going to be like showing up in sunglasses, like arguing with each other. What's lice mean?
It's like when you get lice again.